Good afternoon, guys. I know, look, y'all like, Jaja, oh my God, we thought you wasn't gonna be here. But guess what? I'm here. Your girl is here, live and in the flesh. Thank God it's Thursday. As I say each and every week, y'all already know I have the activities in my limbs. I ain't in nobody's hospital and I ain't in nobody's jail because believe you me, they got room. Listen, dig this. Why I'm late is because I just came back from Detroit Public Schools Community District protest that was happening downtown. And last night I was going to pre-record or whatever. And then I was like, no, I'm not going to do that to them. I'm not going to pre-record for them. I'm going to just go live like I always do. So, of course, y'all know I'm a mama. Okay, my son's getting ready to be a senior. Shout out to DPS, all the seniors, all the graduates. Congratulations to the class of 2020. I know it wasn't the way you wanted it to be, and I know parents are disappointed all across the country. But I'm going to tell you something. Your children are a part of a historical moment, and that is something that you should be proud of. Your children are a part of a historical moment. Not only are they a part of a historical moment, but they have something that no other class will be able to say that they were a part of. They have had a pandemic. They have had a protest. They have had all types of prolific and profound historic things that have happened in the year 2020. So I know you're saying, well, we ain't getting no graduation. We ain't getting no prom. Well, listen, maybe sometimes there are some traditions that we may have to change or become considerate of some of those changes. But for those of you who don't know, I'm a little late because I was protesting with Detroit Public Schools Community School District downtown. And if you are a parent, okay, of a brown or black child, whether it's black, Native American, or whatever, or even if you're white, Caucasian, Asian, whatever, you need to participate and have your children to participate. Because listen, it may be black people today and it may be Asian people tomorrow. You never know. So don't ever think that you're excluded from being a part of this movement. But if you're tuning in, you're listening to Yeah, I Said It. And before I take it back, y'all already know what I'm going to do. I'm going to add more to it. And today we are talking about we are not blankets, but we are quilts. Okay? We are not blankets, but we are quilts. And I know y'all probably like, well, what do that got to do with anything, Jaja? Well, this is the thing. For those of you who are not familiar or aware of the origin of quilts, quilting started over 5,000 years ago in the great land of Africa, okay, in Egypt. And during that time, they would take scraps of clothing and they would sew them together to make clothing. They would sew clothing, scraps of clothing together to make other clothes or blankets. And a lot of us don't realize that a lot of African traditions that originated from the great continent of Africa, we adopted a lot of those cultures and concepts into American culture. So when our people were enslaved and they would give them scraps of clothing and little skimpy blankets in the brutal winters, smart men and women, the black people that we are, you give us scraps and we'll make something amazing, which is what we do, okay? And this is one of the reasons why they keep oppressing us, because we keep rising to the occasion every time they minimize us. And so when our people were kidnapped and enslaved, they would take those scraps that they were given and they would sew them together. And so then they would take certain scraps and certain memories or memorabilia and sew those together to make a quilt. And most quilts that were made during that time frame symbolize a story, right? And how many of us are really walking quilts? We're really walking quilts. And if you're tuning in, you're listening to Yeah, I Said It. And before I take it back, I'm going to add more to it. I know I don't got my sign, but I got my Black Lives Matter sign, my shirt today. So I'm going to put that sign up instead. Is that cool with y'all? Because it's cool with me. This is my show. Yeah, I Said It. And before I take it back, I'm going to add more to it. And if you're tuning in, we're talking about we are not blankets. We are quilts. Okay, so listen, I went out to the protest today for Detroit Public Schools, me and my son. If you have Instagram or Facebook, make sure you follow me. I'll be putting all that information in my Insta stories and in my Facebook stories so that you can be a part of the process. Because I know some of you are working and some of you probably are not physically able to get out and protest. But listen, I'm going to tell you something. if you're capable of getting up and being a part of this movement, it is imperative that you are a part of it. Whether it's on whatever platform that you have, whether it's from working or whatever the case may be, you need to be a part of this movement, especially if you have children. If you have children in this time frame, or plan on having children, or being a part of a family, you need to be a part of this time frame. But if you're tuning in, you're listening to Yeah, I Said It and Black Lives Matter, okay? We're talking all about, we are not blankets, we are quilts. And honestly, we're all quilts, right? We all carry a story. Everything about being a black woman, a black man, a black child, boy or girl, is about a storyline. Some of you have come from drug addiction or having parents that were on drugs, and some of the stories that you've had to face. Some of you come from homelessness. Some of you come from imprisonment, or not even being in prison, but having a loved one that was a part of the prison system. Or maybe you were not a part of any of those things. Maybe you lived a good life and your parents did make wise decisions and they did set you up, to do some successful things in life. But it doesn't negate the fact that you're still black. And if you have children, your children are black. And just because you may come from an affluent community or an affluent family, that does not exclude you from racial discrimination or economic disparities, especially if you plan on servicing the people in your community. Now, if you're tuning in, you're listening to Yeah, I Said It, and before I take it back, y'all already know what I'm gonna do. Y'all know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna add more to it, okay? Because Black Lives Matter. I just came from the amazing protest. The thing about protests is they are effective. And making enough noise allows people to hear us. And if you're tuning in, we're talking about we are not blankets, but we're quilts. And what you all have to understand is that a quilt is a blanket that is combined through story, through life experiences, through materials. And what it does is it tells a story. And I remember growing up, and I had a teacher who brought in a quilt at Charles R. Drew Middle School in Detroit, where I attended. And I had a teacher, her name was Miss Humphrey, and she had a best friend, and her best friend's name was Miss Merritt. And they had classes directly across the hall from each other. And they had brought in a quilt, and a lot of the kids, they were laughing. What is this raggedy blanket? We tend to dismiss things that we don't understand. We tend to make fun of or discredit things that we're not familiar with because we're not educated enough as to how to deal with it. And it's just like within our community right now, a lot of individuals that believe that all lives matter at this moment are uneducated. They're ignorant, and they're only ignorant because they lack the knowledge of the effects that social discriminations, imprisonment, our judicial system that is totally just white privileged out. Okay, yeah, I said it, and before I take it back, I'm gonna add more to it. And people who think that all lives matter at this moment also know that they're not thinking. They're not thinking. They're not empathetic, nor are they knowledgeable about 450 years of oppression all the way up until this present moment. And so if you're tuning in, you're listening to Yeah, I Said It, and before I take it back, I'm going to add more to it. Of course, all Black Lives Matter. Y'all already know the deal. But this is the thing. Romans 8:28 says, and y'all know I ain't nobody's preacher, pastor, none of that. I'm just Jaja from Joy Road. Romans 28 says, all things work together for the good of them that love God and are called according to his purpose. All things, not some things. All things work together. And isn't it ironic that we have been shut up in a house, in our homes, wherever we've been, that we didn't want to be for 3 months. And the minute that we have the opportunity to get out, the very thing that we get out to deal with is protesting, dealing with the death of George Floyd. How ironic and coincidental that we are able to get out right in time to be able to protest and to give our opinions and give our hearts and our thoughts towards such a great movement. It's not ironic. All things work together for the good of them that love God and are called according to his purpose. There are people out here that are called according to God's will and his purpose when it comes to leading movements. Just like Rosa Parks. She was just a regular woman from Detroit, taking the bus home from work, okay? Tired. How many of us have been just tired, okay? We've been tired. We get home. We don't want to be bothered. We want to go have our little eat. We want to have our glass of wine. You know what I'm saying? We want to wind down, okay? And here it is, a regular woman, tired, who decides, I ain't doing it. I'm not getting up this time. And it wasn't just her. It was another young lady who did it before her that was 14 years old that did not get the necessary credit that she deserves because she originally started that movement. But Rosa Parks took it up a notch because sometimes we don't hear our young people when they're speaking. We don't hear our young people when they're giving their opinions because they matter. Their lives matter. And I was so inspired today coming from the Detroit Public School Community District protest because all you saw was kids. All you saw was little babies. They walking and they marching. And it's white kids and it's black kids and it's Mexican kids and it's teenagers and it's young adults and it's college students and it's mothers and it's grandmothers and it's aunties and it's dads and it's uncles and it's big brothers and cousins. And that is what it means to be a quilt and not a blanket. All of us from all different walks of life, different backgrounds, different sexual orientations, different religions, different professions, all coming together to make one movement. And that's just the same thing with a quilt. And if you're tuning in, you're listening to, I said it before I take it back, I'm going to add more to it. I'm talking about we are not blankets, we are quilts. And the thing about it is that when you have all of these different backgrounds, all these different people from different areas of life and of the world coming together to build that quilt, that's what makes it unique. That's what makes it special. That's what brings the flavor. And I'm going to tell you something. Black people, we are flavor. We are salt and pepper, okay? I push it real good. Salt and pepper, okay? And the thing about it is life as we know it would be so bland if we did not have the flavor that we possess. Everywhere we go, we are notorious for bringing life to dead situations. Everywhere we go. We can go from having just a chill day to somebody make a beat and then we all the way live and all the way turned up. It never fails because we're people that just have that flavor. We carry that flavor like none other. And it's such a beautiful thing and a beautiful experience because there are no people like us. No matter where we go, no matter what we do in life, there are no people like us. And the Bible talks about in Romans 8:28, all things work together for the good of them that love God and are called according to his purpose. Not some things, all things. And it's not ironic that we are now being let out during a time frame where there is a movement going on for our people. And the thing about it is that during slavery, we were given scraps, okay? We weren't given what we deserve. And I said it last week when I talked about the young men and young women that were looting. We were not given what we deserve. We're probably never going to be given reparations until a lot of this racism has been eradicated. And the thing about it is that whatever that we can get, we get it, but we also deserve more. See, it's one thing for somebody to love you at their level. But then when somebody loves you more than what you knew you could be loved like, it's a whole different feeling. It's one thing for you to get your allowance as a kid, but it's a whole nother ball game when your parent decides to give you a little extra. It's one thing for your employer to say, hey, you can take the day off, but then it's a whole nother ball game when they say, hey, you can take the day off and you don't have to worry about your PTO. or going into your vacation time. It's one thing for you to say, man, I want to save up for a nice place, and then you get blessed with a beautiful home. See, it's always when we get not only what we want, but also not only what we need, but also what we want. That's a great honor and a great place to praise God, because not only are we protesting, but we're going to be able to change a lot of the scenarios, because now you cannot hide what is happening. See, it's one thing for us to look at the TV and look at the news and see a breaking news story. But it's a whole nother ball game when you look at every channel and the same thing is saying the same thing on every station and every channel. It's a whole different ball game when you're looking down your timeline or on Facebook and social media and you see the same things happening on everybody's pages. That's why you got to be mindful of who you're connected to. See, if you're tuning in, you're listening to I Said It, I'm your host, Jaja. And let me tell you something. Black lives matter. And when black lives matter, that's when all lives can matter. But I'm talking about today, we're not blankets, but we're quilts. And see, the thing about it is that being a black person, we are multi-layered. There are layers to us. There are layers to us. There's layers to our blackness. See, some of us, we're quiet storms. You know, we're not as protested and loud, but we make just as much noise in the areas in which we're in. See, we have to make sure that we are represented in not only policy and politicians, but we are just as prevalent and present in the corporate world. We got to be in the corporate world. We need more CEOs. We need more supervisors in position. We need more team leads in position. We need more managers in position, not only in the political and policy world, not only in the school world. We need more policy makers. We need more police officers that look like you and me, okay? Sergeants, lieutenants. We need more captains that look like you and I, so that way it's not just a white dominating fields. We have so many areas that we're not dominating. Yeah, we got the hair, nail, and lash game on lock, but we need more people in other areas. We got the churches on lock. It's a pastor on every corner, child, and it's a church on every street right next to a liquor store. But do we own any liquor stores? See, that's where we get to the point where we're changing the game. As much liquor and Hennessy as y'all pour out, why don't we have any liquor stores? Yeah, I said it. And before I take it back, I'm going to add more to it. As much money as we spend at Walmart, where we going to get a family that says, hey, we going to need a major store so that we can put our products in? Yeah, we love us some Target. Yeah, we love us some Mart. Yeah, we love us some Maynard's and all of those other stores. But when do we get to a point where now we're dominating and we're on a level playing field with other businesses and corporations? See, it's one thing for us to protest because now it's saying pay attention to us, right? That's what protest does. It says, hey, this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it, and this is how we're going to get it done. So now it's the how part. Because everybody that came out today for the protest came out because they believe that Black Lives Matter. But then do we go back into the same lifestyle that we're trying to get rid of? Do we go back and take our monies to the very businesses and corporations that are funding Number 45's campaign? And see, don't be fooled and misled, because there are some of our favorite places that we like to visit and eat from. They are supporting their campaign. Okay? Read it. I want you to read up on it. A lot of the places that we like to eat and patronize, like Wendy's and Taco Bell and KFC, their CEOs have given to their campaign, okay? The money you took to go get your number 5 went toward this person, number 45, okay? So don't be misled, bamboozled, or hoodwinked. And if you're tuning in, you're listening to I Said It. And of course, you already know Black Lives Matter. And we're talking about we are not blankets, but we are quilts. And the thing about it is that our lives are made up of tiny pieces of experiences. Everything that you've went through in life up until today, June 11, 2020, has made you who you are. The good, the bad, the unmentioned, the things that you've had to deal with on your own by yourself. Some of the things that you've had to deal with as an African-American individual, having to deal with education, having to deal with lack thereof. Those are all layers of who you are. But then there's the hustles that we do when we are at parties. It's the hugs that we get from our grandmas and our aunties. It's the family dinners and the game nights that make us who we are. It's the crying and the best friends and the friendships that we have that makes us who we are. And the thing about it is that our experiences, whether they be good or bad or indifferent, they make us who we are. I had to unfriend some people. I had to unfriend quite a few people. And guess what? Yeah, I said it before I take it back. I'm going to add more to it because I want to add positive layers to my quilt. I don't want people to just be able to give me scraps and I think that that's okay to take them, because it's not. And if you're building your quilt called life, you want to be stitched up with, connected to people who not only value you as an individual, but they value what you bring to the table. And they not flippy floppy, and they not wishy-washy, and they not 1 minute they with you and then the next minute they against you. They not 1 minute saying, yes, united we stand, divided we fall, but then turn around and saying, oh, I don't like her, oh, I don't like him, or oh, this, or oh, that. Because we got to get to a point where if we're going to be solid on our stance, we're going to have to learn to be solid with one another. Yeah, I said it. And before I take it back, I'm going to add more to it. We're going to have to learn to be solid with one another. Because I'm going to tell you something. If you don't think for 1 second that there is supremacy talk, white power talk, control talk, united world talk, one world order talk, you got another thing coming. There are wealthy individuals that have been talking in the beginning of the year. They have a good boys club where there's a certain amount of money that you even got to even be a part of any of these type of conversations. That's why it's important for not only us to build ourselves, but we have to be able to build one another up. And if you're tuning in, you're listening to I Said It, and before I take it back, I'm gonna add more to it. We're talking about we are not blankets, but we are quilts. And what it means to be a quilt is to be multifaceted, multi-layered. And all black people, we are all multifaceted. We're all multi-layered. We all have different experiences that make us who we are. And you have to be very intentional in this season of who you link up to. It's not all about hanging out, drinking, sitting around talking about what we could talk about, but it's about being intentional about what you're building, not only for you, but if you have children, what are you building for your kids? Are you taking your money to the liquor store every day? Did you take your stimulus money and go get fresh with it? Or did you take your money and go invest in yourself so that you can become better as a woman, as a man, as an entrepreneur, as a profession, as a professional, as a community leader, as a politician? Did you take what you've been given and put it in the ground so that it can grow and have a return on your investment? Or did you take it and just blew your money to look fresh and to look cute? We got to get beyond that part. We have got to get to a point where looking fresh, looking fly is the least of our worries, is the least of our thought processes. I mean, if we really think about it, we go to our closet right now. We are abundantly blessed. Abundantly blessed. If we really think about it, some of us don't need no more clothes, no more shoes, no more weave, no more Jordans. If you really think about it, if you really think about what you have right now, and if you're tuning in, we're talking about we are not blankets, but we're quilts. If you really think about what you have right now, what God has blessed you to obtain right now, you don't need to buy not another pair of clothes. Your next investment should be, how do we build in our community? How can I reinvest what I have into something that will not only give me a return on my investment, but it will allow me to build something for myself? See, now, okay, we got the protesting down packed. We making noise, right? Okay? If you're tuning in, Black Lives Matter. But if you know that it doesn't just take and stop at a protest. See, the success of the bus boycott was not just a one-time thing. It was a year thing. It lasted for a year. In order for us to eradicate this type of racism and police brutality, it cannot be a one-time and I'm done. That's why you got to be mindful of those people that are in leadership that do things for clout, that do things for media attention to say they doing something. No, this got to be out on the field, grassroots, every day. If you can get out there every day, every other day, once a week, twice a week, if you can make sandwiches, bring out bottles of water, if you can start a protest in your neighborhood, in your community, make flyers, if you can invest. Let me tell you something. Last night, me and my son, we went to get some gas because I like to fill up. So that way I don't got to worry about filling up during the day. I go with him and we go fill up. And I had to go make a store run because, I had to go get my wine. You already know. Y'all ain't got a heaven and hell to put me in. Yeah, I said it. Before I take it back, I'm adding on to it. Some of y'all doing worse than that, so we ain't going to talk about what y'all doing. But yeah, anywho. So we're at the gas station, and I saw one of my mentees that I worked with at the church when I was working with the youth department. And he has gone on to college and he's doing phenomenal things. And he was telling me that his little sister had just graduated from high school. And in the midst of us talking, I saw this young man standing in the front of the gas station. And, at first I'm looking at him like, man, what is he out here doing, begging? And then I looked again and I saw that there were portraits along the railing of the gas station. And he was in front of the gas station selling his art. And here it is, 2020 vision, right? Sometimes we will overlook the good things in a person because we automatically want them to be in this negative light. Before I could even make a good judgment of this young man, I had to take another look at him. And when I took another look at him, I saw that he had product. He had artwork that he had sketched out, that he had done, and he was selling his artwork. Now, he needed to do a little bit better with his sales pitch and being able to communicate, because all a part of being an entrepreneur and being in business and being in a leadership position is being able to speak. It's being able to talk. And I walked up to him, me and my mentee, and I said, well, what you selling out here? What you got? And he showed me that plug that up for me. He showed me that he had artwork for sale. And I was so excited. And the first thing I thought of, well, let me get my money so that I can support your vision, so that I can support your mission and what it is that you're doing. And the thing about it is that we can't always judge. I love you. You need your card?
No, yeah. The gray one.
It's in, for what?
Food.
Boy.
And Gatorade and water.
Okay, well, get some money out my bag. Y'all already know I'm a mama. My son bothering me because he about to go to football practice. Yeah, I said it, and before I take it back, I'm going to add more to it. Oh, it's behind that pillow over there. So listen. So if you're tuning in, we're talking about we are not blankets, but we're quilts. And so the young man was in front of the gas station selling his portraits. And before I could prejudge him, because we do that to each other, right? We got to stop doing that to each other. We got to start giving each other the benefit of the doubt. But within me saying that, because we are quilts and not blankets, you have to be mindful of who you connect to. Everybody that you connect with is not always somebody that you want to stay connected to. There are a lot of people that I went to school with that don't mean me no good. And just because I went to school with you, that doesn't mean that I hate you, despise you, dislike you. I want you to be just as successful as I am. But that also means that there are some relationships that I don't feel are necessary in my world anymore. It doesn't mean, I love you too. It doesn't mean that I'm your enemy. It just means that right now in this season, I can't be connected to you. And you have to learn that it's okay to not be connected to some people. There are some people that are going to try to make you feel guilty because you don't want to attach their experiences to yours. There are going to be some family members that are not going to understand the vision that God has given you to do whatever it is that you want to do in life. Whether it's start a book or write a book, start a business, go after a leadership position, become a police officer, or do a movie, or any of those things. Everybody's not going to understand what God gave you, because God gave you the vision. He gave you the idea. He gave you the forthright to go after it. And sometimes God will separate you. Again, my scripture that I came from earlier, Romans 8:28. For all things work together for the good of them that love God and are called according to his purpose. All things, not some things. Those disappointing times, I know you try to figure out, well, how do they fit in my picture, Jaja? How does depression fit in my thought process? How does suicide fit in my thought process? How does being poor or dealing with some of the social injustices or dealing with the prison system, how does all these things work together? Let me tell you something. I didn't realize that losing my mom was going to catapult me into dealing with some of the things that I had to deal with. I didn't realize losing my father to suicide was going to make me more mindful of the things that I said and the things that I did, and my mental thought process, and how I looked at my life, and how precious life could be. When my brother was killed in prison, it made me value visiting my other brother even more. It made me understand and make me want to support prison reform even more. Knowing that my grandmother died, in a senior citizen building with very little resources, it makes me want to help our senior citizens even more, and even put programs together even more. Being a teenage mom, raising a young man, it allows me to be more empathetic and sympathetic to our young Black parents, to our young mothers and our young fathers that are trying to build their families. See, what you don't understand is that we can no longer just be blankets. We got to learn to be quilts. And what it means to be a quilt is connecting to one another and building each other up, not just for the gram, not just for social media, but in real life. When I see you, I don't see you as my enemy. When you see me, you shouldn't see me as your competition. You shouldn't have an issue because I want to be great. You shouldn't have an issue with me wanting to be connected or wanting to be on a panel or speaking. We shouldn't be rolling our eyes when there is somebody stepping up in leadership. But at the end of the day, you also have to be doing it out of the kindness of your heart. Because again, all things work together for the good of them that love God and are called according to his purpose. Now, if you out here just doing stuff just to be doing it and there's no purpose behind it, God doesn't get the glory or the honor for it. This is a season where we're going to have to honor God, and we're going to have to be on our knees and get in his face. It's not so much where we sitting down Netflixing and chilling. This is a season where you're going to have to really ask God, what are you trying to show me? What do I need to learn? What am I doing in this season that is supposed to be for me and my people? You all don't even understand that there is a second wave of COVID-19 coming. And if it's not a second wave of COVID-19, guess what? Something else is coming. They already trying to mess with climate change. They're trying to outdo and beat God. We have all these scientists and Scientology and all of these New World Order and United Nations and all of these billionaires that are trying to control the popular population, trying to control the vote, trying to control how we monopolize and do money, eradicate paper dollars, and have just electronic forms of money exchange. There are things that are in place, and if you're tuning in, you're listening to, I said it, and before I take it back, I'm going to add more to it. We're talking about we are not blankets, we are quilts. Of course, you already know Black Lives Matter, and before all lives can matter, Black lives have to matter first. If you're tuning in, we're not blankets, but we're quilts. Our lives are made up of tiny experiences, but we got to be understanding that those experiences make us unique, and it makes us who we are. And if you're tuning in, I know I started a little bit late because I was coming straight from a protest downtown for Detroit Public Schools Community District as a mother representing for our parents. Because us as parents, we have power to change how our children are being treated, but you gotta want it. You gotta want it more than taking a nap because you're tired. And believe you me, there were days that I was tired, that I didn't feel like going to parent-teacher conference, but I went. There were days that I was stressed out. I was depressed. I didn't feel like going to the parent advisory, the school advisory council meetings with the team, because I'm dealing with my own struggles. But I went because I knew that my presence created power. When our presence is known, it's just like a black man in a family. When a black man's presence is in a family, it's hard for people to come against that family because there's a male representation there. That's why it's so important for our black men to stand up in this season and be the leaders of your families, whether you started a family over there, or over there. Your presence has to be felt and known. And if you don't know how to do it, ask God, God, show me how I can be a better leader for my family, for my children, for my community, for my job. Some of you are out here, you so weak, but yet so strong. You'll be ready to turn up and fight somebody for stepping on your shoes or hitting your car. You won't have a problem with standing in a long line to go shopping. You don't have a problem standing in a long line to go to the club. You will pay extra to get in the club. You got to take that same energy, use that same energy that you would use to go stand in a line at somebody else's club that us don't own, to go pay all this money to go stand around and look fly, drinking a bottle, to do what? Get a couple numbers? Maybe? Take that same energy. Because I'm going to tell you something. Us coming together is a beautiful thing. Us working together is an even greater thing. Us supporting one another, it takes us to the next level. Because I'm going to tell you something. White people, they stand together, they work together, they build each other up. And I'm going to tell you one thing's for sure, two things for certain. They will kill their own before they allow anybody to trespass against them. Yeah, I said it. They will take their own out of there. And not only that, but there will be discrepancies amongst the family. There will be issues amongst siblings, amongst parents, amongst the, they'll have discrepancies. They'll even have them at their jobs. Billy won't like Bob. Janice won't like Karen. But they will come together against you. They will come together against what your initiatives are. They may not stand each other, but they will stand together. And we have to learn to stand together. And if you're tuning in, you're listening to I Said It, and before I take it back, I'm going to add more to it. Make sure you follow me on Facebook. Follow me on Instagram. Listen, make sure you guys share this video. Share this video. Because we are not blankets. We're quilts. And the thing about it is that leadership has consistently given us scraps. Not just white leadership, but black leadership as well. We have settled for scraps when we should have been going for the gusto. We are not in the 1960s anymore. We have some power. We have some power and we need to use it. And it's not okay for us to be in a leadership position and allow other people to give us what they want to give us. We have to do better when it comes to negotiations, when it comes to strategy and strategizing. Malcolm X said it. He said, we're not outnumbered. We're just out strategized. See, the thing about it is that white people have an initiative. They have a goal in mind. They say, okay, we're going to take out the whole Tulsa, Oklahoma community. And this is how we're going to do it. We're going to do it this way first. Then we're going to do this. Then we're going to do that. Then we're going to do that. See, we have to learn that there are people in leadership for a reason. And if you don't like the leadership that's in position, get them out of there. And the people that unfortunately got to get out of leadership position, don't be angry. Don't be upset. Just move to the side so that somebody else can lead. There have been times where I wanted to lead certain things that I knew I was capable of doing. Just like some of you. Some of you, you be on your job and you be like, man, if I was manager, I would do this. Man, if I was a supervisor, I would do this. Man, if I was the team lead, I would do this. And the thing about it is that when the opportunity presents itself, you got to go for the gusto. I told my son the other day, he was saying that his position, he plays offensive lineman and special teams. And he was saying that the offensive lineman captain graduated. And I told him, I said, what you gonna do? He said, well, what you mean? I said, you gonna go for the captain position or not? He said, well, I don't know, man. I don't know. I said, listen, I'm a big firm believer of shooting for the stars. But if I land on top of the tree, I'm off the ground. And I told my son, you cannot complain about your team, your position on your team, if you're not willing to take that leadership role, especially if you know you have great ideas, especially if you know you have good intentions. See, I told you earlier that the scripture, Romans 8:28, all things work together for the good of them that love God and are called according to his purpose. When you know you have a calling on your life, you can't sleep at night. You have ideas. You have passions. When you are called to something, when you're called to a purpose, you will be at your job ready to go because you hate your job so much because the passion that you really have ain't there. When you're called to a purpose for something, you get excited about it. See, I get excited to talk to y'all every week. And I'm looking forward to being able to do it every day. But I also know that there are things that I got to stitch together for my quilt in order for it to be effective. Because I don't want to give y'all scraps. I don't want to give you scraps. I want to give you the quality content that you deserve. And because I know you deserve it, I got to put things in place so that I can give you what you deserve. That's just like somebody cooking you dinner and they serve you that delicious meal on a dirty plate. You're going to look at them like, this fork dirty. And they like, yeah. You're going to be like, I don't want this food. They're going to be like, but I just cooked all this food. And you're going to be like, but you served it to me on a dirty plate. And it's just like in relationships. You end up with a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a husband, or wife, and they giving you the bare minimum. They barely call you. They barely text you back. They barely respond. That's not what you deserve. You deserve somebody that's going to love you, not only the way that you want to be loved, but the way that you need to be loved. And that's what Black Lives Matter is all about. It's not about just giving us what we deserve, but it's about giving us what you know we should have, what you know belongs to us, the rights that you know that we also have, the living and the lifestyle that we also deserve. We all deserve ownership. We all deserve to have nice things. It's not just about surviving and being able to pay your water bill, your DTE bill, pay your rent or your mortgage, pay your car note, or be able to get gas, or to be able to get maybe a bottle of wine, or maybe this or that, or maybe be able to take your kids out to bail out. No, it's about being able to go on a family vacation and not have any consequences behind if you're going to lose your job or not. It's about being able to share those experiences with your family. I enjoy being able to take my nephews places, because I remember growing up, I had a godmother who would take me out to the farm, and, she would take me on the road with her, and, we would go to Chicago, or we would go to all these different places. And it wasn't that, my mom couldn't do it, but my mom worked full time. She was a single mother raising 7 children, 7 of us, crumb snatchers. And so there were often opportunities and experiences, a part of my quilt, because I'm not a blanket, I'm a quilt, remember? There were a lot of experiences that I was able to seize and be able to see and go out of town and go across the country and go over to Caribbean islands because God had allowed me to have that opportunity to be a part of my quilt. So that way, now that I have this experience, I can go back and say, okay, this is how we plan a trip. This is how we do a road trip. It doesn't take much. It doesn't take much. And see, that's the thing. We'll go spend $250 on some gym shoes that don't fly, don't talk, don't speak, don't make us run faster, don't make us jump higher. But we won't take $250 to take our family out of town. We got all these different lakes in the state of Michigan. We got all these different places that we can take our families with that $250. That's your lunch. That's your gas. That's souvenir money. That same $400 wig that you got on your head, you could have taken your kids out of town. Right now is a great time to go book you some flights. Go get you a passport. It doesn't mean that you got to go right now because, of course, the pandemic is still going on. But it's a great opportunity for you to take you and your family and your children and experience some things. Them going to the park, that's played out. Yeah, it's nice to go to the park, but how many times is the kids going to see the park when they can go see a lake? I took my son and my nephew this past weekend to one of the lakes up in Brighton. And my nephew got a chance to drive a boat. Not take the liquor and throw his head back and swallow some Hennessy or whatever drink is on the menu because that was the popular thing, driving the boat. Shout out to Megan Thee Stallion. We love you, girl. But still, my nephew and my son got a chance to drive a real boat. They drove a real boat. That's an experience that they will never forget. And we have to change the narrative of our people. We have to. My nephew has grown up having to see his father in prison his whole life. 11 years of traveling back and forth up north, and the only time that you're able to spend with your father is on a 15-minute phone call and a trip to a prison. We have to change the narrative that our children are seeing. And the thing about it is, the protest is a major part of the quilt of our people to end and eradicate racism. That is a part of this. And if you're tuning in, you're listening to I Said It, and before I take it back, I'm going to add more to it. Because at the end of the day, we have to add more pieces to the quilt. We have to add more experiences to our lives that are positive, that give us a return on our investment on positivity. And the thing about it is that you are the author and finisher of your faith. Your faith, it all boils down to you. If you don't move on something, it's because you don't want to move on it. It's not because somebody is not allowing you to do certain things. We are now in a position where we can really make a difference. Have we been able to do it in the past? Absolutely. But I think now is more of a time where we understand and see how important it is for us to be stitched together. But you got to make sure that you are stitched to someone that not only is a reflection of what you believe, but it's a reflection of what they believe as well. And at the end of the day, white supremacy wants to maintain one blanket. They don't want the diversity that a quilt brings. See, a quilt brings diversity. It brings differences. See, a blanket, if you ever been on a blanket just straight up, it might have one pattern, it may have one color, right? That's what white people want. White racists or racist individuals. They want one regular blanket. They don't want no quilt. They don't want all these different stitches stitched together. They want one blanket. It's Remember, that you know what they're saying. All lives matter. This one blanket gonna do everything we need. But because we have the flavor and we bring the experiences of life like a quilt. It's like reading a good book. Nobody wants to read a boring book that's talking about absolutely nothing. It's like reading a good book from beginning to the end. I remember when I used to read some books when I was younger. I read The Coldest Winter Ever. And I was reading that book like, oh my goodness, what? And so now you can't put the book down. And you like, oh, what's going to happen next? That's the same way that we are as a people when it comes to being a quilt. And if you're tuning in, you're listening to Yeah, I Said It. And before I take it back, I'm going to add more to it. Listen, make sure you share this video. Make sure you follow me on Facebook. Make sure you follow me on Instagram. I'm going to put through my Insta stories about the protest today for Detroit Public Schools Community District. But the thing about it is that we are the flavor of this world. We are the salt of this world. We are the flavor. We are the Kool-Aid and the sugar. You understand what I'm saying? Have y'all ever had Kool-Aid and it look good and it's cold, but the minute you drink it, the first thing we say is, this needs some more sugar. Who made this? That's the first thing we say, right? When we drinking some Kool-Aid and it's bland, first thing we say is it needs some more sugar. When we eating that chicken from Karen House, y'all know. I'm sure y'all done had some white people chicken. And when y'all eat white people chicken, he ain't got no flavor. But let you bite into one of a sister girl piece of chicken, honey, baby. You done bit into a whole Lorry seasoning, garlic pepper, lemon pepper. You done bit into a whole flavor, okay? And that's just like us. We are a whole flavor. And the bottom line is that racist individuals want to eradicate us as a people because we bring flavor. And not only do we bring flavor, but our flavor dominates. And it's not even on purpose. It's not even on purpose. We have so much flavor. We are so empowered and powerful that they are fearful that if they mix our black girls and our white boys, or our black boys and their white girls, it's going to eradicate and end their race. That's what they're afraid of. Our DNA is so powerful that you can mix us with any ethnicity, any other culture, and blackness will still dominate. Our chromosomes will still dominate. That's the reason why God said you are wonderfully and fearfully made, and don't ever forget it. Don't ever be ashamed of your blackness or who you are and who you've become. And there are some people that are ashamed of their big lips and their big nose and their big eyes and their nappy, coily hair. But there's no purpose in you being ashamed of who you are. Embrace it. Embrace that big nose. That's your nose. Embrace them big lips. See, when I was a kid, they used to make fun of me. You got that little bitty nose and those big lips and those big eyes, and now they can't get enough of these big lips and this little nose and these big eyes. Yeah, I said it, and before I take it back, I'm going to add more to it. Because we didn't realize how beautiful and handsome we were because we were taught a certain way to look like a blanket. All the same. We aren't blankets. We're quilts. And the beauty of being a quilt is that it brings a different experience, a different look every time. You see somebody with braids. You see somebody with twisties. You see somebody with long straight hair. You see somebody with an afro. You see somebody with a natural. You see somebody with a quick weave. We all got different flavors. You see one guy with a ball fade. You see one guy with a lineup. You see one guy with the dreads. You see one guy with the locks. It's a multitude of flavor that we bring to the table. And the thing about it is not only do we bring flavor, but we bring excitement. We bring authentic love. And this is one of the reasons why you got to be careful of who you yoke yourself up with. Because you got to make sure that the love that you're giving out is the same love you get in return. And if it's not, then that relationship gotta go. It don't mean that you hating on your brother or your sister, because you love us. You love each other. One love. But you also have to understand that everybody that you're connected to is not for your good. Remember, all things work together for your good. All things work together for the good of them that love God and are called according to his purpose. There are some people that I love dearly with all my heart and soul, but I can no longer be connected to them because it doesn't serve any purpose in my quilt. Some of you keep trying to stitch relationships together and the thread keeps coming apart because they're not supposed to be connected to you. They're not supposed to be connected to you. We keep trying to stitch friendships back together. The friendship has worn out. The time is up. And you got to learn to be okay when there are times. There are seasons for everything. There are time to laugh, time to mourn. Time to lift up, time to sit down. Time to give, time to take. There are times, there are seasons. There are seasons of drought. There are seasons of harvest. There are seasons when you're happy. There are seasons when you're sad. There is spring, summer, fall, winter. Every season brings a reason, and everybody in your life does not always be with you for a lifetime. There are people that are going to come in your life in this year that may not be there next year. And you're going to have to learn to grow and build without them. I had to learn that my mom's death wasn't so much of a bad thing because she's still with me always. My father committing suicide, although it was traumatic and treacherous, but it allowed me to understand I have more work to do when it comes to our black men and their mental state of mind. Now that allows me to understand that there's more work that needs to be done. And I need to be around people who understand what that work entails. And those people that are willing to say, I don't know what the work entails, but I'm willing to learn. What do you want me to do? See, it's not enough for people to just want to be connected to you because you popping or you got stuff going on. You want people that's connected to you to be in that fight with you. See, I don't want nobody around me, and you shouldn't want anybody around you that's not willing to get in the fight with you. There are a lot of people that'll watch a fight, but they won't join in one. I never forget in middle school, at Charles R. Drew Middle School again, these girls, they wanted to fight me and my friends, right? And I never forget, she had, one of the girls, they ran up and they started fighting one girl. And then the other girl, she came walking up on me. And she said, come on, let's fight. And I said, come on, let's fight. First of all, anybody that's ready to fight, they get it on and pop it. They don't ask to fight. And that's what we need to be in this season. Ready and willing to be in the fight. Because we are not blankets, but we are quilts. And if you're tuning in, you're listening to Black Lives Matter. And I want you to understand that we have an event going on this Friday coming up. Not tomorrow, the 12th, but next week, the 19th, Juneteenth Jubilee. Listen, it's going to be a live, amazing experience. And if you are an artist, a speaker, a community leader, we want you to be a part of this experience. And we also know that we want to make sure that we're safe and socially distancing. So this event is going to be live. It's going to be live on all social media platforms. So make sure that you follow Juneteenth Jubilee on Facebook. From Detroit, I want to give a special shout out to Sharia Ayers for putting this together and the amazing Juneteenth Jubilee team. Listen, if you are an artist, music artist, spoken word, entertainer, community leader, and you have something that you want to say and be a part of this event, inbox me, DM me. And we're also looking for businesses. So if you have a business or a product that you want to get sponsored for this amazing event that's going to be live, make sure that you DM me and I will make sure that you get the right right information. Or just share this information with somebody else. Because again, sharing is caring. And we are not blankets, but we are quilts. We bring our own individualism to the table to make us a unique culture. And at the end of the day, Michael Jackson said it best. They don't really care about us. And Marvin Gaye said it even better. Brother, brother, where are you? There are too many of us dying. Yeah, I said it, and before I take it back, I'm going to add more to it. Make sure you share this video. Make sure you follow me on Facebook. Follow me on Instagram. Peace.